Do you ever feel an inexplicable shiver inside you when communicating with someone? For example, the other person is smiling and behaving normally, but you sense that something is wrong beneath that smile. This feeling is usually a sign that our intuition picks up immediately, even though our mind doesn't consciously notice it. As a result of long research, Carl Jung talked about a situation that does not look threatening from the outside but actually indicates a deeper psychological risk. This signal does not manifest in people who shout or openly display negative behavior. On the contrary, it appears in more subtle forms. The most disturbing part is that it can be seen even in people who seem extremely ordinary or even charming. The most logical thing you feel in this situation is to instinctively take a step back from that person. One of the most dangerous mechanisms in human relationships, according to Jung, is shadow projection. Think about it: the other person produces unspoken intentions, emotions, or thoughts about you. They react not to you, but to a distorted version of you they have constructed in their mind. Does this sound familiar to you? What you have experienced is the projection of the unconscious aspects that Jung calls the shadow. The shadow consists of everything we don't want to face in ourselves, everything we have difficulty accepting, and everything we push into our unconscious. These aspects do not disappear, they only hide and accumulate energy. When a person constantly projects their shadow onto others, they are actually unable to see their own dark sides, and therefore they detect them in other people. The dangerous thing is that this person truly believes the negative traits they attribute to you. They don't lie to you, they simply see in you the things they deny in themselves. This can create an image that is quite convincing to others. How can you understand this when you encounter such a person? The most obvious sign is that the accusations they direct at you do not match your inner experience in any way. It's as if they have created a completely different character out of you and defend that character as an absolute reality. In this situation, you unknowingly become the stage for someone else's inner conflict. Another important warning from Jung is worth noting: when someone sees themselves as unquestionably good, morally superior, or the one who knows the absolute truth, Jung calls this psychic inflation. This is more than just pride. The person merges their ego with an almost sacred figure. They perceive themselves as a savior, a guide, or the sole representative of truth. The easiest way to identify such a person is that they never doubt their own views. Criticism is not just an opinion for them, it appears as a threat to their cosmic order. Jung states that the consequences of such inflation can be extremely destructive. A similar risk is related to Jung's expression, persona, that is, the social mask. A person can present such a perfect, flawless image to the outside world that they have long lost their inner true personality. When you communicate with these people, you feel a slight artificiality. Their behavior is perfect, yet there is no trace of the natural disorder of being human. This points to the existence of a great emptiness within. The more perfect the persona, the more dangerous the shadow becomes. Jung has a concept he calls archetypal possession. Sometimes while talking to someone, you feel that their energy suddenly changes. They look like the same person, but it's as if you are interacting with a completely different personality. According to Jung, this situation means that the person loses their individual identity and merges with a powerful archetype from the collective unconscious. This archetype may appear as a savior, a victim, or sometimes a warrior. In such cases, the person becomes trapped in a single role, and this role has both positive and negative aspects. An even more striking situation is the repetition compulsion. Some individuals unconsciously repeat painful experiences over and over. They experience similar scenarios with different people. They don't do this consciously, their inner wounds direct them into the same cycle. The real danger is that these people try to find scene partners, who will reflect their inner drama. This process can also draw others into this chaos. Jung always highlights the dangers of being pulled into a psychological story that does not belong to you. Despite all these dark situations, Jung offers a powerful solution: consciously accepting the shadow. This is not about trying to be perfect, it is about honestly accepting who we are, with all our positive and negative aspects. When a person begins to recognize their shadow, they approach both themselves and the difficulties others face with greater understanding. They no longer have a black and white way of seeing things, they grasp the complexity of being human. Such people have a true humility and a natural authority. They don't feel the need to prove themselves, because they don't need to. So, have you ever observed some of these signs in the people in your life? Or perhaps you have felt extensions of these patterns in your own behavior? Awareness is the first and most important step toward change. If this video has sparked your thoughts, sharing it and reflecting on it might even be the first stage of a transformation process. By spreading these insights, you may help others face their own shadows. Jung's world gains more meaning as you delve deeper. These concepts may look a bit complicated, theoretical, and make you think, how can I understand this in daily life, at first glance? But what Jung actually says is simply an explanation of the emotions, conflicts, and relational cycles we all experience every day. Sometimes we cannot understand why someone touches us emotionally, why we feel uncomfortable, or why we are triggered. Or on the contrary, we don't know why we immediately categorize some people as trustworthy, comforting, or giving off a good vibe. Most of these feelings are signs within the domain of internal dynamics such as shadow, persona, and archetypes. They may be invisible, but their effects are extremely real and powerful. Facing our own shadow may seem frightening, but it is in fact something that everyone encounters frequently in their lives. Sometimes when we feel unfairly hurt, sometimes when we feel an ambiguous discomfort, or when a simple sentence someone says unexpectedly creates a sense of gloom inside us. All of these are ways in which our shadow tells us, there is something here, something I need to pay attention to, subtly or sometimes not so gently. But during these moments, there is no need to judge ourselves, blame ourselves, or immediately search for a solution. What matters is being able to sincerely ask ourselves, what is this feeling trying to tell me? That is exactly where true transformation begins. Dealing with one's own shadow is not as dark a journey as you might think. Most of the time, it creates a liberating and lightening effect. Because facing the shadow does not mean accepting all negativity about ourselves, on the contrary, it means accepting the condition of being human. Understanding our vulnerabilities, fears, and sometimes the wrong responses we might give does not make us less valuable. A person who recognizes their shadow can move forward without self-blame or self-deception. This adds a more genuine peace to the person's life. More beautifully, a person who accepts their shadow reaches a much healthier position in relationships. Because when they see themselves clearly, they react less to others' attitudes. They can understand that someone else's anger, defensiveness, or withdrawal is usually a reflection of their own internal struggles. This makes the person both more understanding and someone with a more grounded stance. Facing the shadow does not make someone overly tolerant or someone who puts up with everything. On the contrary, it helps them better understand where they stand and who they should keep in their life and who they should let go of. This journey may progress slowly sometimes, and sometimes you may feel as if a light suddenly turns on inside you. But speed does not matter, what matters is being honest with yourself. Jung states that accepting one's shadow gives an invisible power. Because such a person is no longer afraid of their darkness. A person at peace with their own darkness has no reason to worry about the darkness of others. Being with such a person feels good, while talking to them you feel freer and more authentic, because they have accepted the reality within themselves. Perhaps while reading this text you felt some emotional changes within. Perhaps some expression surprised you, perhaps some made you think, yes, I have experienced this. If you felt this way, it is a sign that your inner awareness has been activated. It does not take major crises, pain, or dramatic events to understand our inner world. Even a small awareness can change the flow of life. Inner transformation happens quietly and in tiny steps, yet its results are deeply meaningful. Meeting your shadow allows you to build more genuine relationships. You can sense people's true intentions more clearly and understand more quickly what is going on in your relationships. You can more easily see which people pull you into their gravitational field, which support you, and which drain you. Perhaps for the first time you will ask yourself, what am I repeatedly experiencing here? Asking this question alone can give you the power to break the cycle. Sometimes all you need to face your shadow is just a little time and sincere curiosity. When you are kind to yourself, even your inner darkness stops being your enemy. The shadow does not want to consume you, it only wants to be acknowledged. And when it is acknowledged, it stops being the biggest burden and becomes the most valuable teacher. This brings a great sense of relief into one's life. If you want, you can create a small space for yourself in this process. You can note the situations during the day that trigger you, observe your feelings, and try to understand the needs beneath your emotions. None of these activities are difficult, but all carry deeply transformative effects. Because as a person gets to know themselves, they heal. And as a person heals, their relationships also mend. Finally, there is something important not to forget: shadow work is not a self-correction effort. No one needs to be perfect. This journey is a much more natural process, approaching yourself. As you approach yourself, life approaches you as well. As your inner peace increases, the chaos of the outer world affects you less. One day when you look back, you will see that you perceive the same situations with a different perspective. As your compassion toward yourself increases, your capacity to show compassion to others increases as well. If this video made you feel emotionally or mentally uncomfortable, it shows you are in the right place. Inner journeys are silent, yet they transform a person deeply. Be gentle with yourself, listen to your feelings, and make peace with your shadow. Because inside you lies a much greater potential than you think, and this potential emerges only when it wants to be seen. Sometimes the sense of tightness we feel in life is actually a sign that our shadow is gently knocking on the door. It wants to say, "I'm here, see me." But most of us bury ourselves in work, spend time with others, get lost in social media, or suppress our feelings to avoid hearing that voice. But everything we run from waits inside us until we are ready to face it. For this reason, courage is more important than speed in psychological journeys. Even a small step can open an inner door that has been waiting for years. As you begin to recognize your shadow, your relationship with the world also changes. You no longer respond in the same way to people who used to upset you. You begin to see different things behind the words that once caused you pain. You understand that most people's behaviors have nothing to do with you but with their own internal conflicts. This awareness creates a tremendous sense of peace inside and allows you to show understanding instead of reacting. This does not mean maintaining the relationship, it simply allows you to end it when necessary without getting hurt, broken, or blaming. This frees a person. In this process, you may notice something: the moments you struggle the most are actually your calls to grow. Every trigger is a door. Every uncomfortable feeling inside carries a message that says, "Take care of me." Seeing these is much easier than running away from them, as long as you choose to stay honest with yourself. If you felt an inner emotional movement while listening to this text, you can share it in the comments. sometimes one person's awareness inspires many. One of the most beautiful aspects of the journey is this: as you make peace with yourself, your environment changes too. Suddenly, the repeating relational cycles you've attracted for years stop finding their way to you. Conflicts begin to resolve in very different ways. Because as you change, your energy changes. And as your energy changes, your relationship dynamics naturally evolve. That's why Jung says, the world you see outside is a reflection of the work you do inside. If you felt stuck for a long time, this is actually not a negative situation. Feeling stuck is a sign of transformation. It is similar to the pressure a caterpillar feels when entering its cocoon. When that cocoon opens, nothing will be the same. When you notice your inner cocoon, you will understand that the transformation process has begun. Perhaps with a small awareness, or perhaps with a sentence you heard in this video. Change does not have to come with a great storm. Sometimes even a tiny vibration in the heart is enough. At this stage, I want to ask you for a small favor. If what I've said created an awareness in you, you can support it by liking the video or leaving at least one sentence as a comment. That way, you send a message to other viewers saying, you are not alone. Maybe a simple sentence you write may help someone else cope with their inner struggle. We are all mirrors, and sometimes one person's awareness can affect many. Continuing on, I want to add something. You can notice your shadow not only in difficult moments, but also in beautiful ones. Some people cannot even accept happiness, because inside they carry an old belief that they do not deserve it. Many of the behaviors that block them come from these old shadows. When you start to understand your shadow, you may also find the answer to the question, why do I withdraw every time I feel happy? This familiar cycle begins to resolve slowly. When emotions you have suppressed for a long time come out, you may sometimes be surprised. During this process, you may cry, get angry, or feel tired. You should not get angry at these emotions, they are the expression of the burdens you have carried for years. Your body and soul are finally beginning to relax. If you feel an inner emotional movement while watching this video, this may be a silent sign that you are going through a transformation. If you want, you can leave a small note in the comments such as, I experienced this too. Sometimes one person's courage inspires another. As you work with your shadow, you will begin to feel more authentic. You no longer need to pretend or try to please others. You will feel the freedom of being able to say, this is who I am. Along with your flaws, your wounds, and your strengths. Accepting the shadow does not mean that you are flawed, it means accepting that you are human. And this brings the greatest freedom. Striving to be flawless is exhausting, but the effort to be yourself is healing. You don't need a special time, training, or a pile of books to embark on this journey. All that is required is to look at yourself gently. Asking yourself, what do I really feel, is enough. Perhaps after watching this video, you'll want to take a few minutes to listen to yourself. If you want more deep videos, you can leave a like, that would be a guide for me as well. Lastly, I want to touch on this point. You are much stronger than you think. The potential hidden within you may have been waiting to be seen for a long time. If you are watching this video, it means you are listening to the silent call of that potential. Trust yourself, make room for your shadow, and do not forget the value of your journey. Each of us has a light in this world, and for that light to shine, the darkness within must first be understood. Thank you for listening this far. If you want, you can share this video to help others begin their own inner journeys. Remember, even one person's awareness can create a big change.